5 hours. Budyonnovsk Air Base, Stavropol Krai, Russia, 300 miles from the Ukrainian border. A 660-pound shadow is currently screaming across the landscape just 130 feet above the ground. On the mission clock, there are exactly 94 seconds remaining until the party begins. This is the Ukrainian Liutyi, a long-range strike drone with a 1,000-mile reach and an $80,000 price tag. Its target? A Tu-95 Bear, a nuclear-capable strategic bomber with a 164-foot wingspan currently sitting on the tarmac. Right now, this aging nuclear giant is refueling, completely unaware that a low-altitude executioner is navigating the jagged hills just outside the perimeter. In the world of February 2026, where Trump-led mediation talks are making headlines in Geneva and the global community is locked in a diplomatic stalemate, this strike isn't just a military operation, it's a message. The Tu-95 is a flying nuclear zombie from 1956, still capable of 575 miles per hour, but it's about to find out that being big just makes you a bigger target. The question isn't if the S-400 will fire. The question is if it can even see a plastic drone flying lower than a suburban telephone pole. Stay tuned, because the bear is about to get a very expensive wake-up call. 5-10 hours. The Liutyi swarm, 50 units strong, is currently carving a path through the Caucasus Mountains. These aren't just drones, they are $80,000 suicide messengers moving at 250 miles per hour. Their flight path is a tactical masterpiece, staying exactly 100 feet above the jagged, fog-covered terrain of the Stavropol region. This isn't just a blind autopilot run. The swarm is powered by a proprietary blend of Ukrainian flight software and Franco-American AI, which uses real-time wind and weather data provided by US satellite intelligence. The level of preparation is staggering. To bypass Russian electronic warfare, the Liutyi drones aren't just listening for a GPS signal, they are using an inertial navigation system that cross-references their internal sensors with preloaded 3D topographical maps. Ukraine has essentially created a Uber drone service that takes the high-speed shortcut through the mountain fog, a route the Russian military never thought to defend because they assumed the terrain was too dangerous for low-altitude flight. As the swarm reaches the 250-mile mark, the strategy shifts into high gear. The 50 drones begin to split into two distinct groups. 30 decoys, cheaper models with oversized radar reflectors, climb slightly to attract attention, acting as digital loudmouths. Meanwhile, the 20 primary Liutyi strikers, packed with 165 pounds of high explosives, drop even lower, disappearing into the heavy mountain mist for the final sprint toward Budyonnovsk. The trap is set, and the Russian defenders have no idea that the real threat is currently hugging the grass beneath their billion-dollar sensors. The journey is almost over, the confrontation is just beginning. 5:25 hours. 50 miles from the target, the electronic silence of the Caucasus is shattered. Beep! On the Ukrainian operator's screen, a bright red overlay begins to pulse. The Liutyi drone sensors have just detected the Eye of Sauron, the 92 N6E gravestone radar. This is the heart of the S-400 Triumph system, a $500 million sensor array designed to track 300 targets simultaneously and guide 48 N6 interceptor missiles with 315-pound warheads. But inside the Russian command van at Budyonnovsk, the atmosphere is chillingly relaxed. The radar operators are leaning back, sipping lukewarm coffee, confident that their impenetrable shield is protecting the nuclear bombers behind them. It is a moment of pure dramatic irony. A $500 million defense system is currently staring into the distance looking for high-altitude ghosts while a swarm of $80,000 mice is literally scurrying underneath its feet. At 100 feet above the ground, the Liutyi drones are hidden by the Earth's own curvature. The S-400 is like a giant with a flashlight looking at the stars, completely blind to the assassin crawling through the grass. Then, the script flips. The 30 Ukrainian decoys, cheap plastic frames with oversized radar reflectors, suddenly pitch up, climbing to 500 feet. They intentionally scream into the Russian radar, creating massive, undeniable signatures. Suddenly, the Russian screens at Budyonnovsk go from empty to a digital nightmare. The reaction is panicked and uncoordinated. The secondary defense layer, the Pantsir S one-point defense units, surge to life. These $12 million systems are designed for close-in protection with a 12-mile engagement range. Their twin 30mm cannons begin to churn the morning air, and the first 5-7 E-6 missiles roar off the rails, chasing the loudest targets. The Russians think they are winning. They see their missiles intercepting targets in the distance, unaware that they are exhausting their limited ammunition on $50 pieces of plywood and aluminum foil. The invincible S-400 is now in a state of processing shock, frantically trying to prioritize 300 targets that don't actually exist, while the 20 real strikers are already initiating their final, low-altitude wave. The giant has been distracted and the mice are already inside the house. 5:30 hours. The air over Stavropol is no longer just frozen mist. It is a saturated digital war zone. This is the central knot of the mission, where the laws of physics and the limits of Russian computer processing collide. As the 30 Ukrainian decoys reach their peak altitude, they activate their secondary payload. High-intensity optical and laser emitters. It is like shining a high-powered laser directly into the eye of Sauron from a dozen different angles. The S-400's optical tracking systems, designed to identify the shape of a jet, are now seeing nothing but white-hot flares. The S-400 Triumph is a masterpiece of engineering capable of tracking 300 targets simultaneously. However, there is a brutal mathematical bottleneck that the Kremlin's brochures never mention. While the system can see 300 objects, its fire control computer can only provide precise guidance for 72 missiles at a time. By flooding the sky with 30 decoys that are constantly splitting their electronic signatures, Ukraine is effectively launching a physical DDoS attack on the S-400's processor. The computer is lagging, struggling to decide which of the 300 flickering dots is a 660-pound Liutyi striker and which is a $50 plywood ghost. Below this electronic storm, the 20 real strike drones are executing a maneuver that would make Neo from The Matrix blush. Using AI-driven frequency hopping, the drones are jumping their control frequencies 1,500 times per second across the spectrum. To the Russian radar, it looks like the drones are teleporting through the air. 1 second they are at 2.4 gigahertz, the next they vanished and reappeared at 5.8 gigahertz. It is like playing a game of whack-a-mole, but the mole has a cloaking device and can move at 250 miles per hour. In the Kyiv bunker, the tension is suffocating. The operator watches a proximity alert flash on his screen as a Pantsir S-1 missile streaks past his lead drone, missing by less than 50 feet. In a last-ditch effort to save the base, the Russian command scrambles 2 MiG-31 Foxhounds from a nearby alert strip. These are 1,865 mile-per-hour monsters designed to intercept supersonic bombers. But here is the tactical joke. A MiG-31 trying to hunt a Liutyi drone at 100 feet is like a Ferrari trying to catch a fly in the middle of a dense jungle. The Foxhounds are screaming overhead at Mach 2, but their downward-looking radars are completely overwhelmed by ground clutter. The echoes of hills, trees, and buildings. By the time the Russian pilots can even bank their wings to look down, the real swarm has already slipped into the final radar shadow of the base. The invincible shield is shattered, and the math of survival has just run out for the Russian bear. 5:35 hours. The causal chain of destruction begins not with a bomb, but with a digital overload. The electronic storm generated by the 30 Ukrainian decoys doesn't just blind the S-400 radar, it effectively lobotomizes the Budyonnovsk base's local network. Because the Russian command and control system is trying to process thousands of false data packets, the logistics computer managing the Tu-95's refueling operation suffers a critical lag. A pressure relief valve on the fuel line from the IL-78 tanker fails to receive a close command. High-octane aviation fuel begins to spray across the tarmac, creating a literal powder keg around the 198,000-pound bomber. In the Russian electronic warfare van, the commander realizes the automated defenses are failing and pivots to the sledgehammer approach. He activates the Krasuka 4, a high-powered jamming system designed to sever every radio link within a 150-mile radius. 600 miles away in the Kyiv bunker, the effect is instantaneous. The operator's high-definition feed dissolves into a sea of gray static. The telemetry numbers on his screen, altitude, speed, heading, begin to flicker and vanish. "Signal fading! I'm losing the link!" he shouts, his heart hammering against his ribs. This is the moment where the mission should end. Without a pilot, a drone is just a slow-moving glider. But Ukraine reveals its ace in the hole, a hybrid satellite-enabled fiber logic system. while the Krasuka 4 is screaming at the radio spectrum. The Liutyi's internal processor switches to an autonomous AI mode. Using a combination of American satellite topographical data and an onboard inertial measurement unit, the drone stops listening for commands and starts thinking for itself. Even as the Caucasian fog thickens, the AI performs a terrain contour matching maneuver, recognizing the jagged silhouettes of the mountains through the mist. It is essentially flying blind, but with a perfect memory of the map. Suddenly, a new problem escalates. A Russian MiG-31 Foxhound screaming through the clouds at Mach 2 finally manages to get a visual on one of the drones. The pilot banks hard, arming his R-77 missile. In the Kyiv bunker, the signal momentarily stabilizes through a narrow-band satellite bridge. The operator sees the Foxhound's exhaust flames on his thermal screen. He has to make a split-second manual Houdini move. Instead of trying to outrun the Mach 3 jet, he executes a Sully-style emergency dive, dropping the Liutyi from 100 feet to just 20 feet above the ground, hidden by the thermal bloom of a nearby power substation. The MiG's radar loses the lock in the ground clutter, and the pilot, fearful of hitting the terrain at 1,500 miles per hour, is forced to pull up. To seal the deal, the Ukrainian operator directs the remaining decoys to impact secondary targets, fuel trucks and storage sheds on the base perimeter. These hits don't destroy the bear, but they create a massive, roiling screen of black oil smoke that further blinds the Russian optical sensors. Under the cover of this man-made fog, the 20 primary Liutyi strikers, each packed with 165 pounds of specialized explosives, slip past the final security fence. The math of the Russian defense has completely collapsed. They thought they had a gotcha moment with their jamming and their jets, but Ukraine just performed a digital escape act that would make Harry Houdini look like an amateur. The Siberian sanctuary is gone. The drones are now less than 2,000 yards from the Su-30 and Tu-95 production line, and the Kremlin is about to learn that you can't jam a ghost that is already in your house. The final countdown is on. 5:48 hours. The mission is down to the final 5 miles, and the thermal feed from the lead Liutyi drone is crystal clear. The Tu-95 Bear fills the entire screen, a massive prehistoric target of aluminum and titanium. It is still tethered to the IL-78 tanker, a vulnerable gas station in the sky on the ground. And the fuel leak we established earlier has now turned the tarmac into a lake of high-octane propellant. The Russian radar operators are in a state of total processing collapse. The Pantsir S-1 units have exhausted their missile racks on the decoy wave and are now frantically trying to reload, their turrets spinning uselessly like a broken toy. 5:49 hours. The impact is a masterclass in kinetic and chemical destruction. The Liutyi drone releases its 165-pound high-explosive payload at 250 miles per hour, slamming directly into the fuel-rich wing root where the engine meets the fuselage. This isn't just an explosion, it's a release of 500,000 foot-pounds of kinetic energy into a structure designed for flight, not for absorbing a high-speed collision. The shockwave hits 1,000 pounds per square inch, instantly liquefying the aluminum skin and treating the 414,000-pound maximum takeoff weight of the bear like it was made of balsa wood. Then, the physics of a sympathetic detonation take over. The 165-pound warhead ignites the leaking aviation fuel, creating a rapid oxidation reaction that turns the Budyonnovsk tarmac into a furnace. The massive NK-12 propellers spinning at high RPM shatter into supersonic shards of metal, slicing through the IL-78 tanker parked next to it. The grown-up nuclear bear doesn't just catch fire, it disintegrates. In the blink of an eye, two Tu-95's bombers, the cornerstone of Russia's strategic deterrent, are converted into $400 million worth of blackened scrap metal. It is like watching microwave popcorn, but with a $100 million price tag per pop. The strategic fallout is a death blow to the Kremlin's prestige. Russia has just lost 50% of its nuclear patrol capability in this sector. They can no longer run their 9,300-mile long-range patrols, and their leverage in the 2026 Geneva talks has just gone up in a cloud of oily black smoke. While the world watches a startup military rewrite the rules of war, the Russian high command is left wondering how their $500 million S-400 Triumph was defeated by a drone that costs less than a luxury SUV. Ukraine wins. Putin, game over. What do you think about this ninja swarm tactic? Did the S-400 just become the world's most expensive lawn ornament, or was it just a bad day for the Russian bear? Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see which part of the Kremlin's pride gets dismantled next. Bye for now.